Okay, so now I want to talk about magic realism because at the time that your book came out, it seemed to be a time when that's what people were looking for in terms of stories. And so I wanted you to describe what magic realism is to you and talk about the role it plays amid the spirituality, the mysticism, and the dreams that are described in the book.
Well, when I started writing, I didn't know anything about magical realism. I hadn't heard the term and didn't have it as a concept in terms of storytelling. As I said, this is the way stories were told in my family. And often stories did not have endings. It was just a set of circumstances and something mysterious would happen. And then nobody would ever go back and explain why that happened or what the reaction to it was. And so in a way, I took those stories as an invitation to write the endings and to write the reactions to it. So I had this little storehouse of half-finished stories that I could use to finish the stories. And that's what much of Mrs. Vargas and the Naturalist is based on. I moved to Seattle in 1983 and enrolled in the master's program at the University of Washington and was told at that point that I was writing magical realism. I thought, oh, interesting, what's that? But there was a production of Blood Wedding that was put on by Intiman Theater. And Yvonne Yarborough Bejarano, who taught in the Romance Languages department, was asked to write a little explanation of magical realism for that production. And she included a reading list. So I looked at it and I thought, oh, I guess I better get busy reading all these. But I did feel a kinship with 100 Years of Solitude when I first read it in college. And I thought, oh, this is like my family's stories. So I found a copy of in Spanish and sent it to my parents and said, this is like our family. And they went, yes, it is. It's very much like it. So I did feel that affinity. I didn't see it as a school of writing of any sort. And I don't know that anybody ever has really. It's not like people all got together and drank beer in Mexico and talked about writing magical realism. I think it might, to address your larger question, be a view that Americans take or took at that time to be a type of story that was specific to people from Latin America, which I don't think it is. I think it is a type of story that emerges under religious or political repression, because it is an indirect way of telling true stories, of telling stories of how people behave and what's important to stories. I think it reflects incorporating the unseen or the dreamed into our everyday lives, as opposed to a culture that's based purely on material things. The notion that to get ahead, you have to earn a lot of money or accumulate a lot of things that you own. And I don't think that has been the same in other countries and other circumstances. The other thing is this notion of accepting things that you don't understand. And one thing I was saying recently, I was interviewed for Science Friday Book Club, is that in many cases, magic is simply science that we don't understand yet. So I think in these stories and in much of Latin American culture, we can accept these things even though we don't understand the science. We have faith that eventually we will understand this, or that this makes sense in our larger world, even if we specifically don't understand it.